Hi everyone, Anthony here. Welcome to Aquascaping on the Fly. I'm Anthony, your host and your content creator. And I want to say a very special welcome to our newest subscribers that have joined. Today, doing a video that I hope not to have to do right away. I promised myself from the very beginning that I would show you all the good and the bad of being brand new into this hobby, whether a build was successful, or I was having problems, or if I had an epic fail. And today's category falls in the range of the red zone of an epic fail. And what I'm talking about is my very first project, which I've got tons of videos on because I was so proud of it, which is Kong Skull Island. It was my interpretation of the beach scene from the remake of Kong, where you can see in the background the barrier wall, and I built it inside my firebox. And I went into great detail in the videos because Kong had a very unusual feature. I installed a drip irrigation system on the ceiling so I could mimic rainfall. It was glorious. It really was. I found beautiful, rough bark out in nature that to me resembled what it would look like to have a wooden wall built that would be his enclosure. And I used great stuff and glued it to the sides. First I put vinyl in the firebox and made it waterproof. And then I glued the wood on the perimeter to create the wall illusion, and then filled it with several moss-covered mountains, which were like driftwood and other pieces of wood that I found in nature that was growing on moss. I think I had 5 pieces of big-sized pieces of wood structures that I put in there that created these peaks and mountains and a lot of places to be able to put my plants in there. And I was so proud of the build. But my epic fail is that gnats were the eventual winner in the battle. And I have put out a video specifically about gnats prior, about my problems with them in my growing chamber and in Kong in general. Now, my first problem that I did when I was building Kong, since it wasn't a firebox, I did not have a cover. My fireplace does not have one of those glass covers on it. And I didn't even think about it at the time. I was building in the process of Kong and putting everything in there. The last thing I did was go down and get a piece of glass to cover it, but that's once all the plants were inside there. And I had seen some gnats flying around every once in a while, but being kind of like too naive about it, I was remembering like, okay, well, I've had gnats in my kitchen before and they eventually just die off. This was not the case. I literally created for them the ultimate breeding enclosure, and once they got established, it was a losing battle that I could not keep up with. More specifically, Kong is 3 months old. It was the first thing I built, and a month now going into it, I had purchased a bug zapper, and the bug zapper took up half of Kong itself. I had to cut plants down to put the bug zapper in there, and I thought, this will be the solution. The bug zapper will work 24/7. It'll be going while I'm on a trip, and I don't have to sit there and vacuum them out, which I was doing when I was home 2 or 3 times a day. If I would see them flying around, my vacuum cleaner stayed right there by the firebox, and I would vacuum them out. Not knowing what was really going on, I was only seeing the surface level of the gnats. It was so bad that I tried every single home remedy out there that I found. The apple cider vinegar did nothing for me. I did eventually find something that worked, I thought, kind of effectively, which was the hydrogen peroxide to water ratio. So 1 part hydrogen peroxide, 4 parts water. You dilute the soil with it. The hydrogen peroxide then kills the larvae and the eggs. So no matter what stage they are after being laid, they were going to be killed. because I thought the source would be to stop the breeding cycle. And at the same time, I still had the bug zapper going, and I was using the yellow insect strips. And I was going through literally hundreds of these. I never showed this on a video because to me, it just would not have done Kong justice. But the entire floor of the enclosure was covered in the yellow sticky strips. The entire walls up to the top of the firebox were all covered in the sticky strips. So as I would put the hydrogen peroxide solution in the first time, I had to dilute the soil, which I did. And then I covered it in the stickies and had, of course, the zapper inside there. So the next morning, I counted 100 dead gnats, and I thought, okay, cool, that's the direction I need to be going. And then I noticed, like a week or so into it, the bug zapper was constantly going off when I would be at home. And I thought, there's no way that I should still be having new breeds happening with the gnats, because I had applied the solution and it hadn't even been 2 weeks. And I did research on the life cycle of gnats and how long their larvae would stand there. I had no idea what was really going on. So then another 2 more weeks till we got to yesterday. I came in from my trip. As soon as I open the door, all I hear is zap, 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 zap. I look into, oh, by the way, I put cardboard in front of the firebox because I just couldn't bear to look at what was happening in there. It was that sad to me, because Kong, to me, was gorgeous. It was flawed. I loved it. So I pulled the cardboard away. The gnats are flying around like crazy. It's like an explosion inside of there. And so I had like a 4 or 5 minute break of, I'm not winning this battle. My plants are looking horrible. Because the soil has waterlogged, and by this point I had done 2 hydrogen peroxide treatments. The water level came up and out of the firebox. That's how saturated my soil was. And I tried sopping as much of it up as I could, but it never was drying out. And so I got changed. I sat down with some massive bags and just opened the door, had the vacuum cleaner on. And this is something you guys need to understand. Gnats aren't stupid. They fly like they're stupid, but as soon as they know that that enclosure is taken off, they go into hiding, that cover for it. I don't know if they could tell the difference in the pressure of the inside, and when they hear a vacuum cleaner going, they're gone. They're back in hiding. You can't see them. That's why I thought I was being effective, is because I wouldn't see that many. I would see like, maybe 10, and that was it. Oh Lord. Okay, so when I got inside there and I started first pulling the plants out themselves and putting them in a container of my hydrogen peroxide solution. So I thought, okay, I want to save the plants that are in there. I want to make sure that they don't have anything growing on them, because I was going to repot them. I wasn't going to put them back in my growing chambers. I was just going to repot them. So I had that setting aside, and without even thinking, I pulled out the first mountain, the second mountain, the third, the fourth, and that's where I kind of saw what really was going on. It was under a sub-level where they were really attacking the enclosure. So no matter what I was doing, I never would have won this battle. So I get the soil out and it's just sopping wet. When I pull the soil and the barrier between it and the rock layer, my drainage layer, I pull that up. It's standing water above the rock layer, and it smells. And I was crushed. None of the water I'd been putting in that enclosure was ever evaporating. It was full. So I felt super bad, and that's why my plants were looking horrible, because they were sitting basically waterlogged. So I started draining the water out, which was a huge mess because it was filthy. And then when I got that out, I pulled the rock out, and I did clean the rock, but I took another step. I put all the rock pebbles into my oven and baked them at 300 degrees on my pizza pan. with a foil lining on it. So all the rocks got baked. So there is nothing on those rocks now. So I did salvage the rocks and the plants, but that was it. The soil I am reusing because I have a little small bed that's outside that I'm trying to build up. And so that's where I put all my soil that I'm not going to use again because I'm scared it may have eggs in it or larvae in it or whatever. And so I'm keeping it, and I'm still trying to raise up an area to grow my own moss outside. So I start now, it kills me, but I pull the start of the foundation wall. That's when I had my, oh my goodness moment. I pulled the first one out. There's a mass of gnats behind the enclosure wall. Where they really were was between the vinyl and the wood structure with the great stuff. There's no soil back there. I guess they didn't need soil because that's where they all were. There were literally hundreds and hundreds of them. And I had to act really quick because they were scurrying around. So I had my vacuum cleaner going while I was doing this. And I was making sure that nobody escaped into the studio here, the apartment. So I quickly pulled every piece out, and I didn't even have time to think about it. I just had to yank them out of there as fast as possible and get that stuff outside the unit. So the soil and the wood all went out quickly, and it killed me, but I took the wood, my favorite pieces that I had grown the moss on, the mountains, all I went straight to the trash. I was like, there is no salvaging this. And then as another further precaution, without even thinking about it, I poured straight bleach into the firebox once it was all cleaned out. I cleaned the inside of it with bleach and then rinsed it and rinsed it and rinsed it and rinsed it. This took literally, I was doing this until 2 a.m. and finally got everything out, got it clean, and then repotted every one of the plants that I had in the enclosure. And so I put them in pots that I've saved from whenever I bought something like at Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart. The little small pots, I've kept them all. And I put a gravel layer at the bottom, put some soil in, and then just to make sure, I put gravel on top of the soil in every single pot and put some rocks back into the enclosure because I want to see now if I can grow my plants in there. Now I gave each plant just a little bit of water with a turkey baster, so no one got even too much water whatsoever because now I'm fearful of putting water in anything. And then I sprayed the entire thing down and put the glass back on it. Today, I'm going to show you a shot of it. Oh, and I also put some more of my sticky insect tape in there because I saw one gnat. And if I see one gnat, I know then there's a lot more. I vacuumed everything in there. I vacuumed all around the ceiling because a lot of times they like to hide up in the ceiling area around the light fixture. I was completely focused on eliminating all the gnats out of there. So it does not have the bug zapper in there. I looked this morning, there's not one dead gnat in there, so I don't know what happened to that one. It could have died whenever I sprayed everything down because they drown easily. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what stage I'm at right now, which is kind of like this in-between stage between this is where I am and where am I going to go from here. So give me a hot second and I'll get you guys set up. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've stuck some rocks in there that are my favorites. And then you can see where every single plant in there has gravel on top of it. I put the bug strips in there just in case there's any gnats, hiding anywhere inside there. But you can tell the glass is on and there's absolutely no condensation in there. So I don't know if it's because maybe a couple of things. When I had the vinyl in there, the vinyl wrapped the entire interior. Now, the firebox walls itself do move slightly, so it is not airtight. And I don't know if I needed the vinyl in there to make it airtight, which is the reason why now there is no condensation. So I don't know what the success is going to be as far as getting the plants to grow that need a humid environment, and it doesn't appear to be very humid at this moment. However, I have thought of a solution that I'm thinking of, and I'm going to go ahead and share that. Normally I don't share my ideas. I just kind of like to surprise you guys. But I kind of want to put a water feature in there. And I'm thinking about one of the videos that has received a lot of really positive feedback is the waterfall that I built inside of the gallon or 2-gallon jug that I did recently on the Thrift Flip series. And I thought, okay, maybe I could build a larger version of a waterfall back in the corner that has a containment area just for the water, but you won't see the water basically in there. It's still going to be a gravel based. I don't know if I want to put soil back in there, but I definitely could see maybe turning this into a water feature, a waterfall feature, and keeping the plants. I don't know. I'm toying around with that idea right now because I like the look. I love these rocks. And I have found these rocks at different locations, and they must be something that's very, very easy to find here in north central Texas, because I have found these along the roadside, just in construction areas where they pile all their trash up. And so they all have this beautiful gold tone in them, and I think it would be really pretty if I could figure out a way, especially like with one of the larger rocks, maybe to drill a hole in it and to put a pump through it, and to where I could have like a cascading waterfall inside there. Now that does mean I will have to either have vinyl all along the base to keep it waterproof. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get around that yet, but I'm only thinking about water in like a corner, not in the whole thing. So maybe put like a glass barrier between the water and the rest of the substrate, and then going with what I've got potted, but to make it look like it's just, I don't know, maybe like a kind of like a water oasis in a rocky desert area. I mean, that's maybe what I could go to. But in retrospect about Kong, yeah, I'm into the cinematic builds because I got 2 more in my mind. But I don't know if I jinx myself, but you know what happens in Kong in the end of the movie? He dies. Kong in my realm, he died. So I don't know. Maybe I never had a chance to get him off the ground because he ultimately died. So anyway, that's my take on it. So thanks for hanging out with me and listen to me rambling on about my epic failure. But we are going to try and turn this around and have something else in its place, because I love the fact that when this firebox is illuminated with plants and something in it, it's really gorgeous. And I'm never going to use this for a fireplace. And I think it's a shame. Now, the only downside is because it's on the ground, it is the hardest thing to get in and out of there because you have to stoop over really, really bad. But I'm working around that. So anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you again on my next video. Bye.